peeps and creeps, and welcome to the Fright Club. I'm Gav, he's Danny.
Hello.
We're the Fright Club and this is a brand new episode of Monday Night Frights. On tonight's show, we're talking about part 3 in the Evil Dead trilogy. It is Army of Darkness!
Army of Darkness! Ah!
I don't want your book. I don't want your bullshit. Just send me back to my own time. Pronto, today.
You shall die!
And we're back with another episode of Monday Night Frights. It's 4.4, Season 4, Episode 4. It's all the fours, Danny. It's all the fours.
4. Big 4 energy.
Yes.
Yeah. I still, how we've managed to get here is beyond me.
I know, it's mad.
Going
It's brilliant.
for over a year now, and it looks like on the horizon we will get back to some sort of like screening normality. But the fact that we're still this is still taking over, and I dare say we'll still take over well into when we start doing screenings again.
Yeah.
It's just like, this is awesome, and have covered so many movies that I haven't seen, and then also so many movies that I have seen, and ones where I've been able to go back and like relive them and re-enjoy them, and some other ones where I've maybe gone back and been a bit like, nah. But this particular one, well, I mean, we've made absolutely no bones about the fact that we fucking love Sam Raimi's Evil Dead movies.
We do.
This one goes like above and beyond in Sam Raimi, Evil Dead-y, Deadites, Bruce Campbell getting the shite kicked out of him madness.
Yeah, we're talking about Army of Darkness, part 3 in the Evil Dead trilogy. Fuck, I can't even speak. I'm not excited.
Oh, so excited.
This is probably, I wouldn't say it's my favorite of the 3. We'll obviously get into it. It's definitely more of a comedy than I think than the first 2. When did you first see it?
I seen it probably not too long after I watched the first 2, because I was shown the very first one first, and it was just in very quick succession then that I just cracked on with the rest of them. So I'd say it was probably about 13, 14, maybe,
right,
when I watched them the first time. I was definitely far too young to have watched the first one when I did. But this one is just like, this one, I don't feel there would be as much bother showing a slightly younger person, because it's too ridiculous. Whereas the first one, you have, rapey trees. This one is devoid of rapey trees, which is good, but has, I mean, some absolutely fantastic deadites in it, and all the wee skeletons.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll get into it, but fucking the practical effects in this movie.
I know.
Unreal.
If you're a fan of practical effects, you'll just love this whole trilogy.
You'll eat this up. You'll eat it
I know,
up.
but
what about you? When was your first Evil Army of Darkness experience?
I honestly don't remember the first time I saw it. I do remember when it came out. Specifically remember seeing it in, do you remember Video City?
Yes.
Down near the margin takeaway.
Across the water.
Just
across
behind
the road from the water.
Across the water.
Across the water from the water margin.
The water margin, and then just behind the cinema is Video City. Great video store. I remember specifically going into that probably shortly after it came out, and seeing posters for it and stuff, and just being like, oh my god, what is this film? And I remember seeing a trailer for it on some videotape. I don't know what the videotape was, and just seeing the skeletons and being like, this is amazing, I love this shit. But I didn't get to rent it. I didn't see it for years, so I don't think I seen it until quite late into my teens, or even into my early 20s. I genuinely can't remember the first time I saw the film. But yeah, love it. Not my favorite of the 3. Definitely more comedy, more slapstick, I would say,
100%,
than the first 2. Less gory.
Well,
there's a few moments where there's a lot of blood.
Moments, yeah. There's a very much what I would say almost like a OTT homage to Nightmare on Elm Street at one point.
There's definitely that big blood splatter part, but again, it's it's kind of in broad daylight, and it's it's not as gory as the first two. It's not as in your face. Although the action scenes are very, very typical Sam Raimi, which we love.
I mean, every time there's a slow-mo arrow shot in this film, I'm just give me more.
I know. But yeah, so obviously directed and co-written by Sam Raimi. It was actually co-written by Ivan Raimi as well. Yep. And it was produced, of course, by Bruce Campbell and Robert Tappert, same as the previous films. It debuted in October of 1992 at various film festivals. I want to say in Germany or Sweden, one of those countries was its debut, but then it didn't actually hit theaters in the US until February of 93. And then June, maybe, of 93 in the UK. I've probably got that date wrong. But yeah, the budget for this, Danny.
Give us the figures.
I'm back with the figures.
Yeah.
But the budget for this is huge compared to the first two.
Oh, I'd say so.
It was 12 million. And I actually can't remember what the budget. I should have written the budget for the first two down. I do have them in my notes here. I've got a wee bit of notes from the previous episodes, but I'm not going to get them out. But yeah, it was definitely, I don't think the budget for the first two movies were anywhere near that.
No.
So this was obviously the third movie in the trilogy. The first two were fairly successful, and this one was also co-financed by Universal. Yeah. On the back of the success of Darkman. Which we fucking love Darkman. Go back and watch our Darkman episode.
Darkman.
Put we link up here. Up there, actually. I don't know. I'll put a link somewhere. And obviously go back and watch the Evil Dead episodes too before you watch this one.
Yes.
But yeah, Darkman, absolutely fucking love it. Universal Pictures produced that. So on the back of the success of that film, they gave Sam Raimi a lot more money than he had on the first two. He did, him and Bruce, and they still had to finance some of it themselves. Yeah. But I think Universal put up like at least half of the money, or maybe even a little bit more than half of it, which is awesome. And you can sort of tell because there's a huge set piece in this, where the first two movies are set in a cabin in the woods, and there's there's really nothing to the first two movies. No. This one has a huge set piece, and it a lot of that was filmed on location in California at the Mojave Desert. So it was actually a huge, it was quite a big set piece that they had to build. So you can tell, and there was a lot more extras in this one. Yeah, so you can tell the money had to go somewhere.
So many extras, and I mean, I absolutely love the big castle, because there's something about it that reminds me of that scene in Monty Python and the Holy Grail, and they're like, "Look, it's Camelot," and he's like, "It's only a model." Like every time I see the castle, I just think of that scene. It's only a model. I know. It makes me laugh how when the film first opens and he lands down in what is clearly like a desert landscape, and then
earthquake,
the deadites are coming. He lands down, the car crashes down with him, and they're in this like desert, and then it just like they just end up all these nights in the middle of the desert, and you're like, right, what's going on? And then the castle, and you're like, this is some strange like post-apocalyptia. And then there's scenes later on with like the graveyard scene, and it looks like some like druidy like old Bronze Age England scene. And there's just, it's all the different environments throughout this. You're just like, this makes no sense.
No.
But it's still fucking wonderful. Yeah. And just makes for like just a real zany, like out there. Like, is it meant to be? Has he gone back in time? Or is he in some other dimension where they haven't quite advanced to, they still living in like medieval times, it's never quite clear. That's why I was thinking around this time, I'm like, are they in some strange like deadite dimension? It's like a medieval hellscape rather, is it an alternate reality to the one that Ash is from, or has he gone back in time? It's never quite clear.
Very good. Yeah.
Hot take.
Lads and lasses, drop your answers in the comments.
Chances are, I mean, somewhere amongst, probably graphic novels or any other sort of literature out there, there probably is an answer to that. But it's not one that I've read. So
No.
it'll be interesting. If somebody does know, let us know in the comments below. But I was thinking about that when I was rewatching it for this. I was like, are we actually back in time? Is it back in time?
Our research hasn't went that deep this week.
No.
So yeah, let us know if there is an answer to that. It's an interesting one. Is it a different dimension? Is it, a different multiverse? Ooh. Is it the madness of the multiverse? Sam Raimi.
Oh,
It's all connected.
It's all interconnected. Imagine, I swear, if Bruce Campbell does not make a cameo in.
Oh man, come on! Of course he will.
Of course
He was actually on set. Sure, he sent a picture of something. Was he in London? At Pinewood or something? He tweeted a picture being like, "Oh, it's great to be back on a set," or something like that, while Sam Raimi was filming the Multiverse of Madness. So he has to be.
Imagine Bruce Campbell version of Doctor Strange.
I was about to say, imagine if he was like a multiverse version of Doctor Strange. That'd be unreal.
I'd dig it.
I would fucking love that, man.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, yes, Bruce Campbell has returned. Groovy Bruce has returned as Ash Williams, but also Bridget Fonda as Linda.
Yep.
And I love at the start of this, we get, this film opens up when part two ended, where he goes through the portal, he goes back in time to medieval times, and it opens up basically as a narration to what the hell has been going on.
I love there's
in
a
the
full
previous
recap.
film.
Like you don't even have to have watched the first two films to get this one, because it goes through a full recap. Right up until that point.
Basically a recap of, obviously they had to sort of refilm certain scenes and stuff, but they recap the film before, I suppose, more so than the first one. Which is, I always thought it was weird how part two kind of replaces part one. It's a very bizarre thing, but we talk about that in episode of the Evil Dead 2, which you should go back and watch.
I think what season
in the archives.
It was some time ago.
Season 2. I'll put a link up here or in the description
below. Yeah.
So yeah, so Bridget Fonda plays Linda in this one. She's only obviously in it at the start and at the end. No, she's only in that one scene, isn't she? At the start,
one bit, yeah. Mm-hmm.
She must have had to go and film Single White Female or something. I don't know, but yeah. So it starts with him. It actually starts a bit like Les Miserables, where the sleeves.
Round them up, yep.
You've got that sort of drums as well. It's sort of that similar beat. Going on in the background, and he's obviously trudging through the sand in the desert.
Where it's like this fella who is very obviously falling from the sky with his metal steed that they're like attacking, and then the old wise man comes over and he's like, he's the one from Prophecy, and King Arthur's just like, nah,
he's a cunt.
He's one of Red Henry's men. Fuck him.
So
shackle him up.
So he is the actual Prophecy, which was a nice twist in the series, and he's supposed to be the one that stops the Deadites. But Arthur's just like, nah. Also, Arthur has the craziest bangs. He's got like Courtney Cox bangs from Scream 2. Is it Scream 2? No, Scream 3. Just the weird, fluffy, like, what's going on there?
Straight fringe.
It's a straight fringe. It's weird.
Yeah, it's like somebody went, you know what was really popular in medieval times? Bowl cuts.
Bowl cuts, obviously, because
what Arthurian king didn't love bowl cuts? Was he? But I'm assuming, I don't think he's going to be the King Arthur. He's just a king called Arthur.
I don't know.
I don't think there doesn't seem to be anything that implies
there's no round table, is there?
Arthurian? No, and there's no other knights, and is that his enemies called Henry the Red, which I mean is just this Scottish man, with ginger hair, just a wee ginger head, ginger Glaswegian. Glaswegian. I liked him. I like Henry the Red. I like, even though he only appears really at the start and then towards the end. He
reminded me a wee bit of Brendan Gleeson from Braveheart.
Yeah.
Sort of that vibe, Obviously, Braveheart would have been after this, like, so. But the vibe from it was that. But also another vibe that I got from this movie. Anyone who knows me personally knows that I'm a big Lord of the Rings fan.
Mm-hmm.
This movie is basically fucking the Two Towers. It's basically Helm's Deep. There's so much from this movie that I was like, fucking Peter Jackson. Obviously, Peter Jackson being a big, cheap ass horror fan when he was a wee bit younger. Big buds with Sam Raimi as well in the 80s. I wonder did he watch this and take a few lines, because there was a line where whenever the slaves first come into the castle, and I think what's the other girl's name? Fuck, what's her name? Did I write that down? Sylvia, is it?
I can't mind off the top of my head. Her name was.
Where is her name? Where is her name?
My
I want to say her name's Sylvia. I don't think I've written it down. But the other girl who's really angry and like throws stones at her brother's been killed or something.
Yes,
or captured.
brother. Yes,
she runs.
No, he was killed. He fell in battle.
She runs after Arthur at the start and is like, "Oh, where is the men? Why is there so few?" And it was basically that's Eowyn. There's a lot of other scenes later on that I was like, "My God, that's Helm's Deep." Obviously, Helm's Deep on a smaller scale,
on a small budget, yeah. And instead of badass New Zealand urukai, you've got little skeletons that are obviously like being puppeted along like this. I love one of the things I really like about this is you've got all the like puppet skeletons, which are obviously just have like somebody off camera doing this under them, but then you've got the people who are in costume, who are trying to like shuffle along but kind of move like the puppets to make it look consistent. And I just cracking me up, all these kind of like fellas dressed up in skeleton outfits walking about like this here.
I know. I loved how later on in the battle at the end, whenever you get sort of close-ups of the skeleton army, some of them are just dummies, and then every so often you get someone that's wearing like a mask or makeup, and they move their jaw because they want you to know that they're real, and it's just like, I fucking love that shit. That is so good. That is my jam. I love it to pieces. But so this was
ahead of ourselves.
We are jumping ahead. We haven't finished talking about production. We didn't even say what it made at the box office. It made 22 million at the box office, so decent return. And obviously it was a massive VHS release as well. I would love to get the VHS, and I'd love to get that poster. I'm trying to remember what the poster. It was him like that, wasn't it?
It's him.
This is my boomstick. Yeah,
he's got the chainsaw, and then the girl's like up against his leg, and you've got the castle and stuff in the back. Is he not standing on top of the car?
Yeah,
as well. So. Yeah, and then you've got all the deadites and stuff as well.
I wonder is that the actual poster that was released though? Whenever the VHS was released back in '93. I can't remember. Research. Yeah, I have to do a wee bit of research. I just remember being blown away by the poster and the skeletons and all that, and it was just, obviously the skeleton army is very Harryhausen, it's got that vibe to it anyway.
I love it's when they're all, they're all digging each other out of the graves, and it's like he wants to get every man in this graveyard dug up. And they're all exchanging. It's like, get the dust off your lazy bones.
I know. I love all the wee comments, just all the wee comments they make as during the fight and stuff, and it's hilarious, and it's fucking brilliant. It's like a proper comedy.
Yeah, like it really is character to these wee skeletons, which again, any other time, like in all the old Harryhausen stuff, you would see those scary skeletons, and the most you get out of them is like a.
I know.
But in this, they've got like individual wee character voices, and they're cheeky, and there's the bit when they've captured like the women from the town, and one of them's like pulling one of the girls along like in chains, and she's got her jebbies out, and he's just like, "We got plans for you, little lady."
I know.
What the fuck's a skeleton gonna do?
I know. Plus, you're a pawn. You're just you don't run this show. Who the fuck are you to say you've got plans?
Old Evil Ash does. But we'll get to Evil Ash.
We will get there. We will. I can't wait. So production lasted about 100 days. It said they filmed a lot of it on location in California, Mojave Desert. Some of it, obviously, they filmed in studios as well, but quite a lot of it was on location. Also, you briefly mentioned it at the start. Sam Raimi loves to torture Bruce Campbell.
Absolutely.
We spoke about that in our previous 2 Evil Dead episodes, where he just loves to torture Bruce Campbell, and Bruce Campbell eats it up and just takes it. In this one, there's not so much him beating himself up and all that shit, but there's a lot of fight scenes in this.
Yeah.
There's a lot of choreography that he had to learn, and there's quite a few fight scenes in it where he's fighting
So
skeletons
much,
and deadites and stuff.
But like again, a lot of it is pure just slapsticky. You know, there's a whole bit when he gets the words wrong from the Necronomicon, and all the wee skeleton hands come up, and he's got to do like all the wee motions with these little skeleton hands coming towards him.
I know. That's
But
pure
yeah,
genius.
and even just when he's going through at the start of the film, when they've shackled him and they're bringing him through the town, like in the castle to keep, and everyone's like throwing stuff at him, and these Waynes run up and start hitting him with shit, and then your woman comes over and starts like hitting him, and then, and then when he's standing on like the precipice of the pit, and she just like fucks a rock at him.
I know. How'd that not knock him out?
And he just it makes him do a fucking front flip and
oh, that's right. Aye, when he jumps into the pit.
He does a full on, like, he kind of like stumbles forward and then somehow from a stumble manages to go whoop.
There's a wild lot of somersaults in this as well.
Wild lot of somersaults. There's like acrobatics all over the show in this movie.
Yeah.
It's so over the top.
I know. I love it, man.
Absolutely love it.
So I was doing a little bit of research into the production, and apparently Sam Raimi, there was a lot of the fight scenes, especially in the castle, where he would do over 30 takes.
Yeah.
Just to fuck with Bruce Campbell. Because obviously, we spoke about Sam Raimi's filmmaking techniques before, and he loves moving the camera. He loves a lot of different angles, and he loves the shaky cam, and zooming in and out and all that sort of stuff. So you kind of would imagine that he would do a lot of different takes, and the editing process must be very manic.
Yeah.
But it is manic even to watch. It's crazy to watch, but it's very, very fun.
It's pretty constant like the whole way through. I don't think there's really a moment where it stops to take a breath, because it's just, something's constantly happening, or just you think something it's about to settle down for a while. No, it just picks up again.
I know.
And as you say, just the action throughout this, whether it be a full-on like swashbuckling sword fight or just slapsticky fun, you can just tell that the energy that Bruce Campbell would have had to keep up, as well as everyone else around him. It's such a high energy film, and I fucking love it. Have I made it clear yet how much I love it?
Yeah, I'm not sure anyone knows that we love it. Like,
yeah, I don't know if they picked up on that yet.
I know, but we do. So we love a bit of Sam Raimi.
Absolutely.
I will say, funny. I've just talking about going a wee bit off topic a little bit. Well, not really. I'm rewatching the Spider-Man movies.
Are you watching the Spider-Man? I was actually thinking about that myself after watching the Far From Home trailer and seeing Doc Ock and seeing the Green Goblin grenade. I was like,
and hearing the Defoe laughter. I know. Willem Dafoe.
He's not a Defriend.
No.
Spider-Man. He's
not.
Defoe.
He's definitely a Defoe.
But
he's misunderstood.
He's bound to, like, Raimi's bound to have got involved. He's bound to have got involved. Obviously, yes, he's doing Doctor Strange, but I would say that he has probably stepped into the studio a few times during the film, during the making of Far From Home.
He's definitely visited the set at some point. And it's been a long time since I've seen his Spider-Man movies. Spider-Man. I do remember. I remember enjoying them at the time in the early 2000s. I don't think they aged very well. Obviously,
no. The second one. I mean, the first. Willem Dafoe for me is the Green Goblin.
I loved the first one. Right, so I've only watched the first two, and I'm sorry, I know we're going off topic a little here, but it's relevant for what's happening at the minute. So, the first one's great. The second one, man, I thought the second one was really good.
Is it? I thought it was supposed to be. I remember it being class. Is it?
No, man. No. Rewatch it. It's so bad. Like, I still love it. Don't get me wrong. Like, I love it. I'm very fond of it, and there's some.
But see, you'll watch the third one, and then you'll be like, actually, it wasn't that bad because
probably. I know the third one. The studio stepped in, and there was a lot of. You could tell they were rewriting the script, very much like the Amazing Spider-Man 2, starring Andrew Garfield. Like, you could tell they had basically rewritten the script halfway through filming, because the whole story kind of just changed direction and went into a different thing. I know part 3 is very much like that, but part 2, I kind of remember liking, and then just rewatching it again, I'm like, I fucking don't like this at all. I love Doc Ock. I think he's a great villain, and he's a very, very scary villain as well. And Sam Raimi, I love the fact that rewatching them now, I see a lot of Sam Raimi in it, because when I first watched it back in 2001 or whatever year it was released, yes, I'd seen Sam Raimi stuff, but I wasn't as familiar. Yeah, exactly. I wasn't looking at going, oh my god, look at the zooms and all, and look at the fucking mad cameras, and look at the crazy sort of CGI and all that stuff. But the second one, I don't think ages well at all, and it's really, really not written very well. But Doc Ock, great villain, great to have him back.
So that hello Peter, just
yeah,
enough about the spoods.
I'm hoping that in the new one, he's probably not going to be in it for too much, but I'm hoping if he is in it, I hope he's got his chest out, like in Spider-Man 2.
Imagine.
Big fucking chest, big millionaire. Get your fucking tits out. Hello. Anyway, so back to Army of Darkness.
Back to Army of Darkness. Let's just talking about. So every so often, we like to do what we think of the opening credits of movies and whether we like the font or not. But this one, I really enjoy how it comes up with the portal that we get at the end of the second film. Start of this movie, we see that kind of almost Doctor Who-ish portal, but the titles come up in smoke, and it says Bruce Campbell versus Army of Darkness. And I love the way it looks, but it doesn't read right. Bruce Campbell, yes, fair enough, he plays Ash Williams, but should not be Ash Williams versus the Army of Darkness rather than Bruce Campbell versus Army of Darkness.
Yeah, I didn't actually catch that.
I know it. I was about like,
yeah, I didn't catch it at all. I was enamored by the titles because I just love Sam Raimi's titles, are always amazing. And after, so the wee prologue part happened, and then it was like just before the narration we get the titles, and the smoke and all comes up, and it's just awesome. And it was a bit Scooby-Doo-esque, but
yeah,
I didn't catch the versus bit. No,
yeah, it goes Bruce Campbell versus Army of Darkness. And I was just like, okay, but if I'd done, I would have said the Army of Darkness. I don't know. I feel like that would have just
Bruce Campbell as Ash Williams
versus
the Army of Darkness.
Maybe that would have been too much.
Doesn't need to make sense, Danny.
It was just a wee moment that I was like, oh, okay. But I was like, I'll make a comment on the opening credits because it's been a while since we've had one of our open. No, actually, we did it for the Descent episode. I mentioned that because
I think we'll try and do it for every film.
Do it going forward, unless it's a really
boring.
No. If it's really boring, we'll talk about it.
Yeah.
But if it's just a real standard, like not really boring, but also not really good, maybe just leave it.
Notice I'm very low, sitting really low in this chair.
Little low boy.
Oh, excuse me.
You're feeling a little low, friend.
I am.
Don't be low. You know who's not low? Bruce Campbell, because this movie, he absolutely gets to shine. He is incredible the whole way through this, and his whole just as I said, there's a real swashbuckling buccaneer thing about him the whole way through this, and his temper and attitude is just perfect for it. So we've said about your woman fucks a rock at his head and he goes spiraling into this pit, this random blood pit that's in. So just before this moment, actually, we get someone's been sacrificed already to the pit, and everybody's kind of waiting. It's all quiet, and then they hear the screaming, and then this geyser of blood, just shoots up out of the hole. And then for me, that was Glenn. Nice. That was a Glenn Nightmare on Elm Street moment. For me, I thought that was. I don't know if Raimi intentionally did it as a kind of tip of the hat to Elm Street. But it kind of felt like it. I'd like to think it maybe was. Or else he just was like, can we buy a giant fountain and can I just need blood in it?
Needs more blood.
Need more blood.
Need more blood.
They did a wee spurt first, and he was like, no, need more blood.
He got Dino on the phone and was like, here, De Laurentiis. Need more blood.
Need more blood.
Yes. No more blood would make the scene better.
More blood. You know what I want? I want to be a volcano of blood. Just a volcano of blood. I don't know. Is this what Sam Raimi said? It's who knows? Let us know in the comments below. Does Sam Raimi say volcano of blood?
99% sure he doesn't speak like that.
Hey,
But yes,
I want to dance like a street Spider-Man.
actually, sorry, I know, fucking hell, we're jumping around here like fucking blue earth flies. But I love actually at the start, you actually see him in his job, the S-Mart, which
Yes,
you hadn't previously
never
seen that.
No.
So, did they even say that he worked there in the previous films?
I think, is there not maybe a slight reference in the second film? No, I could be
can't
wrong.
remember.
I don't. It's one of those things that because I kind of grew up watching these things, I just know that Ash Williams works in S-Mart.
Yeah,
and I don't give much thought to the fact that are we told that before this film? Because yes, we get to see him actually at the start where he works in what is it?
Homewares.
Homewares. He works in Homewares and S-Mart. The best thing is, so your fella has been a volcano, and then Bruce Campbell goes into it and he fights off like the witchy deadite.
Oh
first,
my god!
Which is incredible. And then they make the spikes go. They start to close the wall of spikes in on him.
It was like the scene from Star Wars.
It was a bit like Star Wars, the trash compactor thing.
Dianaga.
But he's still he's still fighting the deadite, and then the like wise old man throws his chainsaw down to him, and I fucking love that. Yes. Where he like jumps up and then like slow-mo shows him like twisting his wrist in to catch it.
Another influence, or Lord of the Rings was influenced by this, is when Frodo falls down and the ring comes down, and he puts his finger up and it goes in his fucking ring. I'm telling you, man. I'm telling you, Peter Jackson was like, Army of Darkness. He's like, oh, how can I make it look that Frodo catches the ring? How can I do that? And he was just like, Army of Darkness.
Army of Darkness, when he just locks into that wrist ring and just activates chainsaw and fucking copes the other deadite that comes out, the big bloated deadite.
Aye, he comes out of the wall.
Yeah,
sort of comes out of like the amazing. So I love the variation of deadites in this one.
There's so many, like we get such a, as you say, we kind of get the ones that are almost like the girls in the first two films, which are obviously just like painted up and made to look a bit more girlish, but now we see ones that are starting to get more like bloated and raw.
Yeah.
And then we get the skeletal ones, the Harryhausen ones, and then we also get like a flying gargoyle ones that come and like abduct the women later on. And then of course Evil Ash's deadite version after he comes back when he arises from the dead again. But man, I fucking love it. It's this moment where he like rides back up from the pit with his boomstick, or what is it? What does he do? He does somebody, or no, the King Arthur goes to get the sword up to fight him, and Ash shoots the sword in half.
Yeah,
and he goes, "This is my boomstick, found in the
Michigan or something.
The games aisle of S-Mart for fucking $2.95 with an oak barrel and blue steel muzzle." He's just like doing the full sales pitch, and I love that moment, and it's just the way he's like threatening everybody with the sales pitch. Fantastic.
And does he say that line in the second one?
The what?
This is my boomstick.
This is my boomstick. I don't.
Because I feel like this movie, obviously it's the third film in the trilogy, so you would expect it, but it creates a lot of the catchphrases. It creates a lot of the lore, the backstory of Ash, and going forward, it basically, it sets a lot of the lore up for comic books and obviously the TV show many years later.
Yeah,
but yeah, so this is the first time he says, I think.
Groovy is first said in 2.
He definitely says that. Yeah,
he says groovy in 2, and then, but no, I think maybe Shop S-Mart is this, and I think this is my boomstick.
And obviously at the very end, Hail to the King.
Hail to the King.
He says that as well, which is another sort of like,
which I love. Because I was sitting watching it with me this time because she'd never seen the third one. And she was like, is this meant to be serious or is it meant to be funny? I was like, no, this one is a bit more slapstick comedy. And she was like, all right, okay. And then at the end, when he says "Hail to the King, baby," I was like, oh, did you know not long after this he did a film called Bubba Hotep where he plays Elvis? And she was like, "What?" And I was like, "Yeah." So now we're planning to watch that. If you want us to cover Bubba Hotep, let us know in the comments below. I am 100% up for covering Bubba Hotep.
Let's do that. Funny enough, you say that Una said that because Janine literally said those words to me. She was like, "Is this supposed to be a comedy or like is it supposed to be funny?" And I was like, "No, it is like a proper comedy." It's I know the first two aren't really supposed to be taken too seriously, but this is just like no, this is just a comedy.
This one completely goes out there and just
I know.
It moves away from trying to take itself in any way seriously.
Another Lord of the Rings note. I'll be noting a few of these. Lord Arthur, it sounds identical to Faramir as well. If you sort of, especially in that scene where you first meet him in the castle and Sheila, sorry, I said her name was Sylvia, her name's Sheila. She comes in and says, "Where are the men?" And he's like, proper, sounds exactly like Faramir. And then later on,
bad news.
I know later on he sounds exactly like Airmere as well. So it was very, very bizarre.
How bizarre.
I know. I might be reaching a wee bit with these Lord of the Rings ones, but I don't care. I'm going to do it anyway.
Just do it.
I know. Also, the pit was fucking amazing.
Yeah. What?
Whenever Ash jumped into the pit or was knocked into the pit, I just kept getting that song from Parks and Recs. Have you seen Parks and Recreation?
Them, but I don't
I
know.
fell into the pit. Not know that song?
No,
it's a big song from season 1. It basically the first episode is Chris Pratt's character.
He falls
into the pit. Yeah, and then he writes a song, and that he sort of sings that song the whole way through the first season. But that's what it just made me think of that song. For some reason, I know. But I love it after he falls into the pit and he comes out with a boomstick and he shoots everyone, and then he's like, "Fucking, nobody is going to fucking touch me."
You're not going to. Anybody else want some? Or he's running. He like looks at the boy and he's like, "You want some?" And he's like coming at him. And
the man's like, "No, I fucked out. Just standing here, mate. What are you doing?"
So funny. And it actually, even before all of that, one of the prisoners tries to escape, and King Arthur gets his crossbow.
Yes.
And he shoots the arrow, and we get that tracking shot along with the bolt. And then from behind, as it like goes into the boy and pins him to a fucking wooden pole.
I know.
What fucking, again, just typical Raimi, like absolutely smearing his style all over the thing.
Yeah.
You know? Incredible. Absolutely. It's only just started. This is like the first 15 minutes.
Yeah. Doesn't fuck about. No, it doesn't fuck about. And then after he does all that, he basically becomes a god to everyone. And he's like getting fed grapes and stuff. And then Sheila, there's a great scene where Sheila sort of comes in and she's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I was a dick to you." And he's just like, just the wee look he gives her. So now you want to kiss me? Well, before you wanted to kill me. I just thought the look that he gave her was fucking amazing.
It's that whole moment. It's just like, what the fuck's going on? Because he's just finished making his like new robotic hand from like random car bits, as you do, because Ash is some sort of engineer apparently. But yeah, he just makes like
doesn't have to make sense, Danny.
I know it doesn't have.
I say that was. I think that's before he gets his hand, or is that after it?
Is it? He's in the. Isn't it when he's working on the hand in like the windmill? He's like up in the windmill, like working on it. And does he like they kind of have a bit of a tiff? And then does he not like hit her, but then catch her, then kiss her?
And then they
just
they go to bed together.
What the fuck just happened?
I know. It's mad.
But it's just absolute fucking. You can really see the influence of those old kind of like action adventure-y like Buccaneer films. You know, it's all over it, and even the like fighting up the stairs and stuff, as you say later on in the big fight in the castle. There's like fighting up the stairs and along the like trellises and stuff, and it's very. I'm gonna make Lord of the Rings link here. The Legolas coming down, even though he rides the shield down, that whole kind of moment
Helm's
of like
Deep,
fighting down the stairs at Helm's Deep.
I tell you, man, there's so many times I was just like scene for scene. I was like, obviously not shot for shot, like, but it was just like, Helm's Deep did that, blah 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 did that, and I was just like, yeah, because Peter Jackson fucking loves Army of Darkness. That's why.
Yeah, I mean, how could you not? Like, I can understand maybe some people being like, oh, it looks like cheap and tacky, but you're like, but it's wonderful. It's so wonderful.
Do you know what? Yes, some shots were like, oh, whatever, but it was 1990. It was actually filmed in 1991, late 1991, early 92. So, like, it still looks good though. Like some of the scenes still looked amazing.
I love all the like explosions throughout this, all the skeletons bursting into dust and stuff, and it's just and it like I think the story is really solid. And it'd be interesting to see if there was maybe an alternate ending where he didn't go back.
Well, Danny, funny you should say that. There's two endings. Now, I'm not 100% sure if the original ending is there anywhere. They definitely filmed a different ending because they changed the original ending as per request by the studio. Fucking damn studios.
Always getting there.
No, but so basically, the original ending was at the very end when he says the words to go back home. He says them wrong again. No, sorry, not the words. He drinks some sort of potion to go back home, and he drinks too much or something like that. It's not the exact quantities, and he ends up going. He ends up going home, but it's not the same home. It's a post-apocalyptic sort of wasteland version of the home. And that was the end, but the studio was like, no, we need to have a bit more of a sort of happy, cool, funny ending. We don't want it to be negative, so they reshot the ending at the S Mart, which is fucking mental. What a mental ending that is.
Such a good ending.
I know.
Just with that repeater rifle, just.
I know, it's crazy, but they wanted him, I think, to have more of a sort of heroic ending, and I suppose it does make more sense.
Yeah. But imagine leaving being a king to go back and work in S-Mart.
I know.
But hey ho, each to their own.
I love how he's like, I was going to stay and teach them how to do this and teach them how to do that and stuff, and he had to come home to S-Mart.
Loyal to the job.
But I love that montage scene when he makes his hand. Like, it's just like, and we get all those lovely little
it's very much
Edgar Wright.
Yeah.
You know, steals a lot of those sort of types of shots.
Real quick, like it reminded me a bit of Darkman, you know, when he's in his lab doing his thing. It kind of 100% got that vibe about it, which again, fucking beautiful. But yeah, and then it's the bit, so after he's made love and all, and then is he not still working away, and he catches himself in the mirror, and his mirror's reflection starts acting weird.
Oh yeah,
so smashes the mirror, and all the little ashes appear.
So that's right. I think that's right. He has to go to. That's right. He goes to the windmill. That's right. That's where he's at. He goes to a random windmill.
Some random windmill, so that he can work his magic.
Yeah.
And yes, has he been assigned the mission by that point? The old wise man tells me he has to find the Necronomicon in the graveyard and read the incantation in order to banish the evil from the land. And then if he brings them the book, they'll send him home. Yeah. They'll find a way to send him home. And that's the only way he can go back to his own time. So he decides to do this. The mini ashes, what the fuck? The mini ashes, when he smashes the mirror, and then all these little ashes appear from the broken pieces. Oh, that was an amazing shot, man. So good. And I just love when they all come up, and they're all just like harassing him and stabbing him with forks. And it's very Gulliver's Travels. Yeah. They tie him down, and one of them like gets inside him. He has to swallow one of them, and then he gets the water. He pours the boiling water. Which I was watching and I was like, I wonder how they did that, because obviously the pot is steaming. I'm like, they wouldn't have used like what do you call it? The ice. Hydrogen chloride? Yeah, because that would have fucking poisoned. No, it must have just been like some sort of friendly you know, that stuff you can put in, you know, when you make a dinner, like smoked, you can smoke stuff. It must have just been like smoking a pancake. But yeah, when he's like pouring that into his mouth to burn the tiny ash inside him, and then he goes outside. He's like, his guts are turning, and he goes to walk outside, and he feels something on his shoulder, and he looks, and there's this wee like eyeball blinking at him. His shoulder. That whole scene, he goes to the windmill because he gets chased by the evil dead,
and we get that POV from the first couple of movies.
Yeah.
Which is the only shot in the movie I think that you sort of get a POV, but he's running through the woods, and it's a bit of a throwback to the original ones.
Yeah.
And he's actually getting chased, and then that's why he runs into the windmill. And then he obviously stays in the windmill, and he's like, "Fuck, I need to do something here. Get rid of these cunty deadites." And he builds his hand. I saw the eye. That's right, the eye. That was class.
The eye that appears on his shoulder, and then it starts to sprout. Another Ash sprouts.
Another version of himself.
And then it's that bit when he's just like, "I'm you, but you're good, and I'm bad."
I know.
He's just like, I'm tormenting him, and he just keeps going, "I'm bad," and punching him, and just repeating himself. And then Ash pulls out the shotgun. He's like, "Good, bad, I got the gun."
Yeah, because they eventually actually split. They're like sort of Siamese twins for a while. Yeah. He's got like wee floppy head, but yeah. I kind of love that. I love that scene because it's hilarious because it's basically Three Stooges.
Yeah,
you know they literally do the thing where he pokes him in the eye and all, and isn't it the bit with the no? It's later on they go and you were talking about the skeleton hands.
Skeleton hand, they do.
It does the old thing.
He does that, and he catches them, but then the others, I pull them. And then all the wee hands come at once.
Punch him,
and all, yeah.
Amazing, man. So he's at the cemetery, and he has to go and he has to say the words.
But even before that, because he's chopped up, evil Ash appears and starts saying, "Oh, I'm the bad one, and then good Ash shoots him in the face. And then takes him back to the windmill and cuts him into bits.
That's right, and buries him, yeah.
And then he buries all the bits. And then he finds the three Necronomicons. One of them sucks him into a portal. Another one is like a little flying monster book.
Mm-hmm.
And then the third one's the real one. He tries to remember the last word, and he can't get it right.
I see.
That's when he.
It's actually the words are actually Klaatu Barada Nikto, but he says
necktie.
But he doesn't even. I don't even. Does he even say Barada? Does he not say Verada?
Might do.
I think he gets the second word wrong as well, and then he can't remember the third word, and he's like, "Oh, I know it begins with N." No. And then he's like, he says necktie and he says a few other things.
And a few other ones, and then he just kind of goes.
And obviously, that conjures up the army of the dead, the army of darkness, I should say.
Darkness, yes. Mm-hmm.
But fuck, it's hilarious. The first one, he gets the big jaw.
Yes, the portal sucks him in, and he gets to scream.
It kind of reminded me of Beetlejuice.
Yes,
where he stretches out there.
Chin, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Klaatu Barada necktie. Klaatu Barada Nikto is a famous phrase that was from what was that? The Day the Earth Stood Still, the classic science fiction movie from 1951. But it's also, as we know, Star Wars fans, Klaatu Barada and Nikto are characters from Return of the Jedi.
Yep.
Fondly named Klaatu Barada and Nikto. I don't think they were initially named that in the film. They were whenever they released figures, as you have to give figures a name.
Always.
But that's how I know those words from Star Wars, and I remember rewatching Army of Darkness a couple of years ago, or reading about it or something, and being like, "Fucking hell! I didn't make that connection." Klaatu Barada Nikto. I know that from Star Wars characters, and then I didn't even realize that it was actually from the Day the Earth Stood Still, which is obviously massively famous and influential. Oh, yeah. So the Army of Darkness come to life, and then he's realized that he's fucked up, and he has
the little zombie or the little skeletons mess around with them, do their slapsticky thing.
That's so good. The best bit is when they go to do that, and he
catches it, and then the other two come in from the side and get him.
It's like
I love
proper
fish hooking, and what is it? One of them's got like his tongue.
Yes.
At one point, incredible.
As Three Stooges, and he's really doing his best Jim Carrey as well. Like It's just amazing. It's really amazing. And then so they've basically risen from the dead, and
he's run back to the castle where the wise man's just like, "You're supposed to get the words right, and now you've doomed us all." And he's like, "I suppose you want us to return you back to your own time now?" And he's like, "Yeah," but then he kind of gets guilt tripped.
And he's like, "Oh, I said the words. I basically said them.
Yeah.
And he realizes that he's not going to get his end of the bargain because he's fucked up. So he has to basically sort of train
He trains
the village.
Yeah.
It's not even is it even a village? It's more like just they live in the castle.
They live in the castle grounds, yeah. They're just living amongst the castle, but he's training them how to do the staff thing. They're doing the whole training montage and making bombs and stuff.
The montage.
And then it's a motherfucking montage.
We love a montage.
America. But yeah, it's the whole. I love that, the whole him showing him how to do things, and then the bit when he's working with like the alchemists, when the alchemist goes to put like a wee pouch of stuff near a candle, and Ash just like moves the candle away, and is like, and you're like, and then they're working on something else. We don't get quite see it yet.
You don't see it. It's a bit of an A-team montage going on. You're like, oh, I wonder what they're doing here. They're getting the vehicle
something really
pimped up. They're getting an exhibit to pimp the ride.
Pimp my ride.
Pimp my ride. And then obviously we get the Deadite Captain, who's one of the coolest characters ever, Evil Ash.
Evil Ash, when it's the part that when it does that scene, it's like the grave, and then all the dirt kind of moves away, and all the pieces appear like a wee jigsaw puzzle in the air, and they just morph together.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And then he's like, "I'm back, baby." I love it. He's got this big like underbite when he's walking around. He's just like, "I'm gonna get him. I'm gonna get my book."
Apparently, for years, a lot of people thought that it was Bill Moseley who played that character, who's another Bill Moseley from Devil's Rejects and obviously Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 and stuff, horror legend. But he is in the film, but he plays like the number 2 guy, you know, the guy with the eye patch.
Yes. Yep.
That's actually Bill Moseley. He had to come out on Twitter a few years back and say, no, it's Bruce Campbell plays Evil Ash, like it's me playing this guy. So I just thought it was awesome that he was in it, and there's quite a few famous sort of faces in it that kind of go on to be. Obviously, the Raimis are in it, you know. Ted Raimi is he must play one of the Deadites in it. I can't remember seeing his face. I'm assuming he's one of the Deadites because he's in everything. Yeah,
well, I absolutely love the march of the Deadites as they go towards the castle, you know. So Ash and all the ones in the kingdom are preparing for the arrival of the Deadites, and the way the Deadites are all like, as I said, you kind of got the front row in front of the camera are all the ones that are being puppeteered along, and then the next row are all the people in costume, but they're all kind of like shuffling along as if they're puppet movement, like they're trying to mimic the puppet movements, and I thought that was fantastic. And I love the wee drummer boy skeleton who's got like skulls as his drums, and then the other ones have like thigh bones. Flutes.
Funny you should say this, because I was like, when that happened, I was like, oh, it's nice to see the loyal sons of Dead Ulster fucking approaching the castle here. He's like a wee fucking bone as a flute.
You were just missing a sash with a lamb egg and a couple of sashes. I know. Imagine.
But fuck me, that was hilarious.
What absolutely cracker. Again, just that the whole arrival and all the wee skeletons like just shouting stuff, and I absolutely just the wee grumbles and stuff from them. But it's when they're retreating later on, and you get to hear them being like, "Run away!" I know. And then we sort of get, you know, in the montage scene previous, we get the reveal of what was happening in the montage scene. I don't know if you noticed it, but whenever he opened his car boot, there was a copy of Fangoria as well. Was there?
Which I thought was a nice wee nod. And there was a few other things in the boot as well, but I thought it was a nice wee nod to Fangoria, obviously. That's crazy. He properly pimps up his ride.
Oh, but we don't even get that revealed just yet.
Don't get it yet.
We got all the army of darkness stormed the walls, and they breached the castle, and they managed to burst through the door and stuff. And that's when what is it, the line they deliver is just like, you want a taste of the future or something.
Yeah, welcome to the future or something, he says.
The big fucking windmill, the bladed windmill attached to the front of the car.
I know. It's class. But another Lord of the Rings little hit was obviously the whole battle scene. There's a bit where whenever they march and you get the captain, and he's standing. It's very much like, like one of the big orc captains from Helm's Deep, and you get all the archers, and they're holding, they're holding their bow and arrows, and Ash is like, wait, and then I was just thinking somebody's just going to peg one by accident, which is what happens in Helm's Deep, but thankfully they didn't.
No,
but just that whole sort of waiting, to see who makes the first move was reminded me of that scene from Helm's Deep.
I love when they do loose the arrows and they start hitting the wee like skeleton barricades, but then explode because they've got the gunpowder on the front of them, and the wee skeleton bits flying off all over the place. Like, I dare say that set must have been an absolute mess to clean up. Like, just bits of skeleton all over the show. Oh,
it's class. It's class, man. That whole scene, the whole battle scene is just amazing.
And they're trying to protect in the highest tower. The Necronomicon is being guarded by the King Arthur's like top men.
Yeah, and he sort of turns out to be sort of noble in the end, even though he was a bit of a dick at the start.
Yeah,
he's kind of progressed as a character. There's been character development.
There's character development through
it. He's been on a journey.
They've all been on a journey together.
And Ash has made him a good man. So, and there's a bit where, is it not a bit where he gets shot or something? Not shot, but like with a bow and arrow.
He's been hit by, so the evil Ash is sort of advancing on the book, and the troops, all the Deadites and stuff are advancing on, and King Arthur's trying to fight them all off, and he's been shot with like 3 arrows at this point, and he's still like fighting off 2 Deadites, and one of the guards kind of goes to help him, and he's like, no, guard the book, and he's still like fending them off. And then Ash kind of comes in and helps him, but that's when evil Ash appears, and they kind of have their moment, and Ash has got 2 swords, and he's fighting off a Deadite, and he's fighting off evil Ash, and fuck, what a moment.
One last Lord of the Rings. Whenever they sort of think, oh, we might be done for here, and then they look off and they realize that's Big
Henry the Red and his boys
on top of the hill. What is it that Gandalf on the last day? Look to the I can't fucking remember the fucking line. Janine will fucking kill me for it. I can't remember the line, but whenever they all Ermir and Gandalf come up on the top of the hill, and they realize, we're grand. So they come, his mortal enemy comes to help save humankind from the Deadites, and then they have the wee standoff at the end, don't they? They were like,
the 2 sides are facing off.
They walk towards each other with vigor, and you're like, oh, they're going to punch each other, and then give each other a big man hug,
a big squeeze, because Arthur's arrow wounds are no longer a problem.
No, they're not.
No longer a problem at all. But even before we get to that bit, Ash is just like defeated evil Ash, but then it turns out he hasn't. He ends up catching on fire, but then he re-emerges at the side of the wall as like a skeleton version with the big
eyeballs,
manic eyeballs. I think I actually prefer the skeletal manic-eyed version of evil Ash to the Deadite zombie version of evil Ash. I just fucking love the eyes on it and the expression of the eyes, and when he when he realizes that he's on the fucking, he's got the book, but then he's on the fucking catapult.
Oh yes.
And Ash gets the book back, and then the catapult leashes him up in the air, and the animatronics in the face are just like,
does he not say something like fuck or something?
I can't remember. I just remember him like the face like going, and he gets launched up and it explodes. He's obviously on a big bag of gunpowder and gets blown up, and then that's when it turns out that all the Deadites have.
There's a great scene actually. We forgot to actually mention how Sheila gets turned.
Sheila gets fucking kidnapped. Yes, that's like what we were saying about the flying Deadites. So during the training montage bit, all the castle gets invaded by flying Deadites who come and abduct the women of the castle and take them back to Evil Ash and his cohorts. And she gets taken to Evil Ash and turned. She gets turned
into a she bitch.
Mm-hmm.
That's what he calls the witches earlier.
I might be bad, but I feel good. That's what she said.
Yeah.
You're just like, what? But she's done in the classic Evil Dead 1 and 2, just paint, done
just sort of makeup. Mm-hmm. And then whenever she encounters Ash, and he's like, honey, you got real ugly.
Yeah.
What a line. Like,
it's just
class.
He just comes off with him like that there.
Fucking love it, man.
She's like stabbing him, the sword at him, and he's doing the whole rolling from side to side, and then he does the legs split, she gets him in the dangling. And and then it turns out in the end, after everything, she's fine.
She's grand. No, she was just possessed.
Yeah, it's
So,
just a mild case of possession, you know.
like a lot of these horror films, all you have to do is kill the leader,
The big bad.
you know, and then everyone's fine. You know,
Everybody's okay. Even though all the other wee deadites just run off, they just retreat.
yeah, they're
Like,
just like,
"Run away!"
"Fuck this."
Yep, they'll run off, and then I assume the wise old men of the castle must do the incantation properly because they can't trust Ash with that shit.
Yeah, and then he goes back to. He finally actually does go back to Esmart,
Smart.
and he encounters another deadite though.
He's telling, basically is implied at the end that what we've just watched is him recapping it to somebody in the shop. Smart, and a woman walks up to him and is like, "Oh, I thought that was really sweet that you came back. You chose not to be a king and you came back, really humble." And then he turns around and this blonde woman is just like, "Wah!"
I know.
And does like the typical deadite thing. But again, she fucking is when she's doing like the flips up the aisle.
She's training for the Olympics.
Exactly, she's doing full on somersaults. Fucking 10 out of 10 landed there, love. But fuck, what an absolute.
Fucking Stasia Kinski trained her fucking cannonballing through the air.
And then he gets the repeater rifle and he's like, what? He's sliding along like a trolley thing, just like leashing bullet after bullet into her. And then he kills her and grabs the woman and long live the king, baby, and gives her a big
hail to the king, baby.
Hail to the king, baby. Gives her the big smooch.
Yep.
The end.
Who was the girl at the end though?
I don't know. Just some.
It wasn't Linda.
I don't think so. Just some randomer that happened to like a story. I think
it definitely wasn't fucking Linda.
Correct us if we're wrong. I'm pretty
sure. Just a random customer. He's like, "Fuck it, I'm laying the laps on this bird. I've just killed the deadite. I don't give a fuck."
I've just killed this deadite. Who cares if it's?
I'm going to sexually assault this woman in Esmart. I don't even care.
Exactly. Like, just go for it. Also,
doesn't need to make sense.
Actually do that. Don't do that. It doesn't need to make sense. If you kill the deadite, you can switch whoever you like.
You can do whatever you want. That's the rules.
But we talked about in the Ghoulies episode. We talked about like movies of this caliber and ditties, and you know the Ghoulies only really had the faintest hint of nip. This film had a deadite with boobies. Did you notice that the flying deadites had titties?
I didn't notice.
Yeah, I think we're start making a tally. Monsters with titties.
We did our Ghoulies count last week, so we're starting a trend here. We're going to try and do some sort of count every week.
Monster titties, because Ginger Snaps, Werewolf titties, Army of Darkness,
From Dusk Till Dawn,
Deadites with titties, and From Dusk Till Dawn, Vampires with titties.
Yeah. What other ones have we done that was
that monsters with titties? I don't know if anyone else can think of any other horror films out there where monsters have titties. Let us know.
They don't even have,
because we're interested.
They don't even have to be female. Just titties, like
just titties. Even big man
titties are They're fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah, we love all titties, great and small.
Dids.
Oh
Anyway. My god. What is happening?
This is the end of the
What is happening? No, but ditties go hand in hand with 80s and 90s horror. It does, man.
That's true.
It's part of that genre. It just fucking is, all right.
I know. Oh, I know.
Anyway, Army of Darkness, amazing film. Probably, I was going to say it was probably my least favorite of the three, but now that I've rewatched it and now that I've talked about it, I think it might be better than the first one, but not as good as the second one. I don't know.
I think I still hold a lot of love in my heart for the first one because it's the first one I've seen. It's the one that it's the one that made me want to go watch the rest of them. I think a lot of people sort of start with two, but no. But I think I just love all three. Like it's one of those things that when I start kind of watching one, I'm like,
it's weird because
I'll watch the others. You know,
I think the first one obviously is very similar to the second one with the cabin and all the mad shit that happens. But Ash is so different in the first one, even to the second one. That there's such a huge leap. and how his character has changed and got more zanier and all that there. The first one, I sort of kind of just, I see the first one as just kind of being a separate thing on its own.
Yeah.
Which is kind of weird to say because obviously it's the first of the trilogy. But I just think Ash has changed so much, and I think that's probably why out of the three, I prefer the second one first, and then Army of Darkness, and then the first one, because I just love Ash being typical Ash.
Yeah. I mean, he definitely, like this one, the Army of Darkness really lets him go like hell for leather with this character. We get to see so much charisma in his character compared to the first two.
He's like Jim Carrey meets The Rock.
Yeah.
It meets fucking all of the Stooges put together.
Yeah. His
and also
ability to do like slapstick and mime and stuff.
Yeah, according to Janine, he's hot as fuck. So
he's still yeah. I mean, even if you go back and if you've been watching the Evil Dead series, he still has it. Like he still can pull off the Ash Williams thing. It's a force unto itself.
So anyway. That was an enjoyable episode talking about Army of Darkness. We hope you enjoyed the episode. We apologize for talking about Diddies. Monster Dids. Go back and watch all the other episodes, Evil Dead 1 and 2, and we even mentioned Ghoulies there. Go back and watch our Darkman episode. Leave all the comments in below. Let us know which Evil Dead film you prefer.
Yeah.
And rank the three. We hope you enjoyed the episode. We will be back next week, of course, but in the meantime, go check out the website www.thefrightclubni.com and check out the social media at the Fright Club NI. So go like, subscribe, tell all your horror pals about us, and all that lovely shit. And join us next week for another great episode of Monday Night Frights.
Yeah.
We will have some sort of Diddy count. We might not. We'll see.
We'll have to see. I don't know. Well, maybe
actually, I'm thinking
a movie that has enough of these two.
No, I think probably next week's will be.
It's going to be Diddy free.
Diddy free. P Diddy free.
P Diddy free.
Fucking Diddy.
Has P Diddy ever done a horror movie? That'd be the one time when we can actually be like, there is actually a Diddy in this movie. P Diddy.
There is just a Diddy the whole way through it.
One whole Diddy.
I'm sure he has. We'll check out. You know what to do.
Yeah, let us know.
Anyway, that's all we've got time for this week. As always, stay safe, take care. All the best, guys. Bye.
Bye.